They say when the moon is full, you can still hear her crying in the palace walls. I was there the night it happened, the night the beautiful orphan girl became the bride of a prince. But before you think this is a happy story, let me tell you, nothing about it was right. Nothing. Her name was Abube. She lived with her stepmother, a cruel woman who hated her. Abube was beautiful, the kind of beauty that made people stop and stare. But her life was full of sorrow. She lost her parents young, and her stepmother, Chisholm, made her a servant in her own home. Abube cleaned, cooked, and worked from morning till night while Chisholm's own daughters did nothing. One day, word spread that the prince of our land was looking for a wife. The entire village buzzed with excitement, and girls everywhere were preparing to catch his eye. Chisholm, greedy for power and wealth, dressed her own daughters in fine clothes and jewels, leaving Abube with rags, as always. But fate has a way of working, even in the most terrible ways. The prince's carriage came down the dusty road, searching for potential brides. When he arrived at Chisholm's house, his eyes fell on Abube. Her face was dirty, her clothes torn, but even under all that, her beauty shone through. The prince demanded that she be brought to the palace for the selection ceremony. Chisholm was furious. She tried to hide Abube, but the prince's guards took her anyway. At the palace, everything changed quickly. The prince, captivated by Abube, chose her to be his bride without hesitation. The wedding was arranged in days. Some said it was too fast, too sudden. But no one questioned the prince. Except me. I was a servant in the palace, working in the kitchens. I saw things that others didn't. And there was something wrong, something dark in the air. Abube's face should have been full of joy, but every time I saw her, her eyes were distant, empty, as if something had stolen her soul. The night before the wedding, I heard her crying. I followed the sound through the stone halls of the palace, and there, in a small chamber, I saw her sitting by the window. But she wasn't alone. A shadowy figure stood beside her, Chisholm. I hid behind a pillar, holding my breath, and listened. You think you can escape me, don't you? Chisholm's voice was sharp. Even here, you will never be free. You will always be mine. Abube said nothing. She only wept softly, her tears glowing in the pale moonlight. Chisholm leaned in close and whispered something I will never forget. Do you think the prince chose you by chance? Do you think he loves you? No, my dear. He is under my spell. You will marry him, and then you will die. Chills ran down my spine. I knew then that Chisholm had used dark magic. She had found a way to curse the prince, to make him choose Abube, knowing that once the wedding was done, something terrible would happen to her. I wanted to run, to warn someone, but I was frozen with fear. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. The next day, the wedding took place. The entire village gathered to see the beautiful orphan girl marry the prince. The ceremony was grand, full of music and laughter, but I couldn't shake the dread that clung to the air. And then, just as the sun began to set, it happened. As soon as the vows were spoken, Abube collapsed. Right there, in front of everyone. The crowd gasped, the prince rushed to her side, but it was too late. Her skin had turned pale, her eyes blank. She was gone. People said it was a sudden illness, that she had been too weak. But I knew the truth. Chisholm had cursed her. She had wanted to destroy Abube from the moment she laid eyes on her, and she had used dark magic to make sure it happened.